Journalist Johann Hari set out on a global journey to speak with leading experts around the world about the causes of depression and anxiety. In this dispatch, we'll learn about some potential solutions to these pervasive issues. Hari was haunted by two burning questions. First, why have more and more people in the Western world been suffering from depression and anxiety over the past 40 years of his lifetime? The second mystery was personal. As a teenager, Hari had gone to a doctor and described feeling like pain was pouring out of him. He was ashamed and didn't understand what was happening. The doctor told him that some people simply have a chemical imbalance in their brains by nature. The doctor prescribed Hari medication, which made him feel much better at first, but the pain soon returned. They kept increasing the dosage, and Hari took the pills for 13 years, but he continued to experience debilitating anguish for almost the entire time. To get to the bottom of this and write a book about it, Hari traveled around 40,000 miles. The key thing he learned is that current science points to 9 main drivers of depression and anxiety. 2 of these are biological. Your genes can make you more vulnerable, though this doesn't seal your fate. But the majority of the causes are non-biological, rooted in our lifestyles. For instance, you're more prone to depression if you rarely get out into nature, if you're lonely, and if you have no autonomy at work, just doing what you're told. We have innate physical needs like food, water, shelter, and clean air. But we also have core psychological needs, to feel our lives have meaning and purpose, that we belong, that we're valued by others, and that we have a future. These psychological needs are increasingly unmet in modern times, perhaps contributing to the epidemic of depression and anxiety. Hari struggled to shift his view of depression as just a brain chemistry problem to one with many contributing factors, including lifestyle. He spoke with a South African psychiatrist named Derek Summerfield, who told a story from his work in Cambodia in 2001. The Cambodians were introduced to chemical antidepressants for the first time, but they said they already had their own antidepressants. Summerfield recounted the tale of a farmer who worked the rice fields and had lost a leg to a landmine left over from the war with the U.S. They fitted him with a prosthetic, but standing in the water of the fields was painfully difficult. Plus, it was hard for him to work where he'd been maimed. The farmer started exhibiting classic signs of depression, constantly crying and staying bedridden. That's when the local community stepped in. They sat with the farmer, listened to him, recognized that his pain made total sense given his circumstances. Then they bought him a cow so he could become a dairy farmer instead, no longer forced to work the rice paddies. Within a month, his depression vanished. This sounds like a bad punchline. You go to the doctor for antidepressants and end up with a cow. But the Cambodian doctors had intuitively done what leading physicians worldwide have been trying to convey for years. If you're depressed or anxious, you're not weak, crazy, or a broken machine. You're simply a person with unmet needs. The doctors didn't tell the patient to just buck up and solve it himself. No, they said, "We're here together to help you figure this out." All depressed people crave this kind of support. We need to talk less about chemical imbalances and more about restoring balance to our lifestyles. Medications can provide relief, but the root causes run deeper than biology. Hari proposes we focus on 2 key drivers of depression and anxiety and the corresponding solutions. The first is loneliness. In a recent survey, 39% of Americans admitted they have no close relationships anymore. By global measures, loneliness trails right behind the U.S. Our ancestors in the African savannas were not more numerous or speedier than the animals they hunted, but they thrived by banding together and cooperating. The superpower of our species is our ability to unify. Yet we moderns are the first humans in history to leave our tribes, which is why we feel so wretched. A London doctor, Dr. Sam Wellington, told Hari about a patient named Elise who had struggled with depression and anxiety for 7 years. The doctor prescribed her not just meds, but also required her to come to the medical center twice a week to meet with others facing similar troubles. But the goal wasn't to just commiserate. It was to figure out meaningful things they could do together. These East London residents decided to take up gardening. Beyond the natural antidepressant benefits of connecting with the land, the patients found each other. They formed a new tribe and started caring for one another. As Elise said, the garden started blooming, and we started blooming. Hari believes we need to shift from telling people to be yourself to saying be us, be part of the group. The solution lies in belonging to something greater than yourself. The second driver of depression and anxiety is the prevalence of false values in our minds. For millennia, philosophers have said that if you believe life's meaning comes from money, status, and bling, you'll feel like crap. Professor Timothy Kearney, who studied this for 30 years, found that the more you think you can just buy your way out of sadness and malaise into a good life, the more likely you are to sink into depression and anxiety. But the problem is that society tends to share these misguided beliefs. Our whole lives we're taught to seek happiness in the wrong places. The saying, on their deathbed, no one wishes they'd bought more shoes and got more retweets, is a tired cliché, but it contains a kernel of truth we all recognize deep down. The dying revisit moments of love, meaning, and connection. Our culture, however, doesn't allow us to live accordingly. We're trapped in a system designed to make us forget what truly matters in life. Why is this so hard for us to grasp? For many reasons. One is that we need to reframe our view of depression and anxiety. When we see them as just a glitch in the brain, we're implicitly saying our pain doesn't matter. But it's not a glitch, it's a signal. Your depression is trying to tell you something. Only when we truly listen to and honor these signals can we begin to uncover the liberating, fulfilling, deeper solutions waiting to be discovered. These solutions, Hari believes, come down to reconnecting with what's most essential, to our relationships, our sense of purpose, and aligning our values with how we actually live. The opposite of depression isn't, as often assumed, happiness, it's vitality. And vitality arises when we feel deeply rooted, when we matter to others, and when our lives have meaning beyond just pursuing status and stuff. The loneliness epidemic is one of the most pressing drivers of the mental health crisis. Humans evolved to be profoundly social creatures. Our ancestors didn't just hang out, they collaborated and watched each other's backs. But modern life has severed those ancient ties. As Hari puts it, we're the first people in history to leave our tribes. No wonder so many of us feel lost, unmoored, and alone. One powerful solution Hari highlights is the social prescribing approach pioneered by clinicians like Dr. Sam Wellington. Instead of just giving patients medication, these doctors connect them with community groups, shared activities, and support networks. The goal isn't to commiserate, but to find common ground and do meaningful things together. Elise, Dr. Wellington's patient, testified to the profound impact. The garden started blooming and we started blooming. By finding her tribe, she rediscovered a sense of belonging and purpose that medication alone could never provide. Tackling the second driver, our cultural obsession with false values centered on status, wealth, and image, is trickier. These materialistic beliefs are woven into the very fabric of our society. As Hari notes, our whole lives we're taught to seek happiness in the wrong places. Edmondson University professor Timothy Kearney's research has shown the more you believe you can purchase your way out of unhappiness, the more likely you are to end up depressed. The siren song of consumerism is hard to resist when it's constantly amplified all around us. But Hari sees glimmers of hope. He points to the growing popularity of the deathbed wisdom that the dying tend to value love, meaning, and connection over possessions and status. There's a nagging intuition, even in our materialistic culture, that the things that truly matter go far beyond the superficial stuff we're told to covet. Tapping into that deeper wisdom, Hari suggests, is key to unlocking more sustainable solutions to the mental health crisis. Reframing depression and anxiety as signals to be honored rather than problems to be fixed is another crucial shift. When we see them merely as brain glitches, we risk diminishing their importance and the vital information they contain. But depression and anxiety aren't malfunctions. They're attempts by the psyche to communicate unmet needs and imbalances in our lives. Listening to those messages with compassion and curiosity could point the way to true healing. Hari is under no illusions that these solutions are simple or straightforward. Undoing the entrenched patterns of modern life isn't easy, nor is resisting the cultural currents that pull us away from what's most nourishing. But he believes the stakes are high enough to warrant a radical rethinking. The mental health crisis isn't just an individual struggle. It's a societal one, with cascading effects on our communities, families, and the very fabric of our civilization. Rising to meet this challenge, he argues, will require nothing less than a renaissance in how we understand and support our basic human needs.